Hello.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, babe. We did it.
3 years.
3 years in the books today. That's pretty wild.
I know, it is wild. I feel like it's gone by fast. 3 years strong.
This month, though, while it's also our anniversary month, it's also National, what is it called? National Caregiving Awareness Month?
Yeah.
I always get the wording of these wrong.
National Family Caregivers Month.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yes.
So we figured it made sense to talk about caregiving, Charisma's area of expertise, and take some questions from people from social media.
Why is it my area of expertise?
Well, I'm not a caregiver.
Yes, you are. See, that is one thing that people, I think, misinterpret.
I only said that to lead you into this, by the way.
Oh, right. No, we're all caregivers. You know, we all have that in us. When you marry your partner, you are their caregiver, with or without a disability. So Cole is just as much my caregiver as I am his. It's just very different, the kind of care that we do give.
Yes. So I try to give a lot of care, but you give a lot of care for sure.
Physically is the biggest difference.
And like medical care.
Medical care, yes.
Yes.
That's true. But before we start, yes, we have our Christmas tree up. Yes, it's not even Thanksgiving and it's early November. And that's okay because we love Christmas.
We do.
We literally have decorations everywhere, guys. It's not just this corner, it's our entire house. And then our dining room table has pumpkins for fall, for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's the only fall.
It's looking very decorative in here. Well, let's just start with number one.
Yeah.
What do you do to motivate yourself being a caregiver every day?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I do anything specifically to motivate myself. I think what motivates me is knowing that you're okay and you're good to go. Yeah.
Like keeping me alive, basically.
That's the thing. I'm not necessarily keeping you alive, am I? No.
Yeah. If you left and I was stuck in the house for a week, I would probably die.
I don't think so. I think you would drive yourself to the hospital and just camp out there.
Well, that's true. I would figure out something to do.
Yeah.
But if I was locked in this house by myself. Anyway, yeah, so thank you for keeping me alive.
But I do think that making sure you're good, you're happy, you're healthy, I think that's what motivates me. Mm-hmm. I don't really search for outside motivation when I get up every day caring for you because it doesn't necessarily feel like a huge burden on my shoulders.
That's good.
Yeah.
What would you say your hardest struggle being a caregiver and a spouse is?
Maybe in moments when we're really frustrated with each other and I still have to care for you.
Yeah.
Because I'll never neglect Cole's care, even in a moment of frustration where we're both just unhappy.
I would actually agree from my perspective.
Yeah.
Caregiving for you as your spouse, I think it's the hardest to show the care when you don't know the best way to show the care, depending on what's happening in the moment and the feelings of the moment. You know what I mean?
See, Cole is my emotional caregiver. So he has a bigger struggle when it comes to caregiving. I think that's a much harder job than the physical caregiving. Because I am complicated sometimes with my emotions, and sometimes I don't even know how I feel. So that's a better question for Cole.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being there, being there can be hard in the tense moments. So when I need something from Charisma, when we're having a little spat, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry to ask, but like I do need this. Like, fine. So it's a lot of us just figuring stuff out together.
Yeah, we just have very typical disagreements, I think, like any other couple. But that doesn't get in the way of my care for Cole. I still put that first, no matter what.
Oh, here you go. Yeah.
Okay, do you ever feel like you need a break? Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel like I need breaks as a caregiver. So I try my best to find those moments. Whether it's a full day or a few hours, I find those moments to just relax. What I want to do, go shopping. Tomorrow I have a date with Hannah to go get Christmas stuff. That's my way of giving myself a break and doing something different. And then when I went to New York, Cole's mom came and took care of Cole. And that was some respite care for me. Whenever we go home to Virginia, I get respite care. Cole's parents do his care and I get my break. And I think that's very important. I think caregivers should have a break. Just like we have a break from any job when you have children. If you and your spouse can get out and take a little vacation and have the grandparents come watch the kiddos, do it, because I think we all need moments where we need to get away.
And I think it's important to be intentional about it too, which you've done better, I think, recently, especially with like scheduling your acupuncture once a week.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a great self-care time for you every week. You know you're going to get that.
Yeah, I agree.
So how do you separate being a caregiver and a wife?
That is the most popular question, I think, out of all of the questions submitted, was separating being a wife and a caregiver. And I find that so interesting because I don't.
Yeah.
It's one and the same. I am a caregiver and I'm a wife all at the same time.
I feel like that's a common theme that we hear talking to other interabled couples too, is that there's not a lot of separation. And you can do both things simultaneously and be fulfilled, I feel like. And you can also find a lot of intimacy within the caregiving. It seems like a prerequisite that people think, oh, if I'm going to be in an interabled relationship, I have to find a separation. I don't think that should be the ultimate goal. Like if that works for you best, then sure, absolutely. But I don't think that needs to be like, assumed that's a necessity for the relationship. I don't think so.
I feel like I'm both roles at the same time, and I will never intentionally try to separate those roles. What I'm doing Cole's caregiving task, I'm also being his wife. I'm also telling him I love him. I'm also kissing on him. I'm also talking about what groceries we need the next day while I'm doing his care. It just kind of goes hand in hand, and I feel like it's best to have that. I feel like when you try to separate it, you can get into murky waters.
The other morning, we were kind of irritated with each other. I think I don't know, I said something stupid. And Charisma was like, what the heck? And we were in the middle of a transfer. And at the end of the transfer, I was like perfectly fine in the chair, but I acted like I was falling over. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So she had to grab me. And then I just hugged her.
Oh, that was months ago.
Yeah. You remember?
Oh my gosh, Cole does this thing where he literally says, the other day this happened, and he can be talking either literally the other day or 5 years ago.
It literally was the other day.
I never know.
It's not this day, it was another day.
Yeah, that was cute. That was a good moment to make us make up for everything, or make me laugh and whatever.
Oh. And it took you a second to realize what I was doing. You're like,
oh my gosh. Cole.
This one says, are you concerned about developing back issues at some point? That is another common question that we received, especially because our piggybacking video went kind of viral. And so a lot of people who didn't already follow us thought that that's how I always transfer Cole, but I only have ever given Cole a piggyback ride 3 times. And it's not something I would choose to do in a heartbeat over any, like...
That's like a worst case, like get off the plane kind of situation.
Yes, that's that's a good point. That's the only time that it really makes sense to do that. Yeah, I'm not concerned because Cole does pretty much all of his transfers. So I'm really not straining my back when caregiving for Cole.
Yeah, this back is going to be healthy for a long time. That's the goal. Then we have a Hoyer lift also, where it's literally you just pump this little thing. Yeah.
Exactly. The Hoyer lift is going to be great. And we've used it before because we've got on the couch, and it's a really deep, low couch, and it's hard to get back in Cole's wheelchair. So I've Hoyer lifted him from the couch to the bed, and it was perfect. So this is a really good question. You want to read it?
It says, how do you avoid resentment?
That's a really good question, and I think a lot of caregivers do struggle with this, especially maybe when caring for a family member. Because I feel like when you are a caregiver and that's your job, I feel like there's kind of a different perspective. But then when you are put into a caregiver role and didn't necessarily sign up for it, I think that's when it can become harder and there are more chances of feeling resentment. I try my best to always be vocal and express how I'm feeling with Cole, and if I feel overwhelmed by a certain situation, or if I feel that he could try something and be a little independent in this area and how that will take some pressure off of me, I just try to be open and communicate my needs. It's interesting because I don't think I've ever necessarily felt resentment when it comes to care. I think the time I've gotten closest to feeling resentment was going through fertility, especially when we didn't know my full scope of things and all we knew was that it was low sperm count. I think in that moment I felt resentment because I was just so frustrated at how hard it was.
Yeah, well, I absolutely resent my low sperm count. That sucks. I hate it. I still resent that.
Yeah.
And that also, I'm pretty sure, has nothing to do with my disability either. I think that's just me. That is like the true marriage killer, I believe.
Yeah.
Is like slow building resentment that goes unaddressed.
Yep. It's interesting because when I did talk to Cole about me feeling a little resentful when it came to the fertility, I was really nervous to talk about that because I felt like it was such a bad feeling that I was getting. And I didn't understand why I felt that way. And I was so frustrated myself because it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But it was good being able to talk to you about that, and then you're talking to me about how you feel.
I remember that moment when you acknowledged that for the first time, and I remember just feeling such an immense sense of relief because I could feel the resentment.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the resentment was or where it was coming from, and I could just feel that it was happening.
Yeah.
And then you finally just like talked to me about it, and I just felt so much better. I also felt like super sad.
And we got past that.
Yeah.
We got through it, and then I found out that my body isn't perfect either. So it's like, now Cole, it's your turn. You can resent me now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Oh my gosh. No. This one says, what is your favorite part about being Cole's caregiver?
Oh, the favorite part.
I think the favorite...
You get to see me naked?
Yeah, that's really it. It allows us to be so close intimately and being so open and vulnerable with each other. I feel like if we didn't have this caregiving aspect in our relationship, I'm not sure we would be as open and vulnerable. Because I know for a fact that we are way more vulnerable than a couple that doesn't have caregiving involved in their relationship. I mean, there are things that I have to do for you and you have to do for me that couples just won't ever have to experience unless caregiving is involved. And I love that we have that closeness because I have never felt so comfortable with anyone in my life.
Well, I'm the first partner that you farted in front of.
It's on purpose too. I don't care. I am me. This is who I am.
Yes.
Take it or leave it.
And now you're my fart butt.
Yeah, that's what he calls me.
My little fart butt.
I think I've had that nickname since 2 months in or something.
All right.
So we clearly are in a different outfit, and man, what we're filming.
We're filming, Sophie.
What do you want?
Here, quick kiss. Quick.
Wow,
Let me
thank
kiss.
you. Got a kiss.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, like
I
we
can't have her sitting there staring at us like that. She's literally just like, okay, let's get back to it.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have 2 different shirts on. Mine's still black, and then Cole has this shirt on. We changed because we just got back from our anniversary dinner.
Yes.
But we're back, and we're going to finish answering the rest of your questions.
All right, so this person asked, do you have any help, or are you doing it all alone?
So we do not have outside help when it comes to Cole's caregiving. So technically speaking, it's just me. But for the most part, Cole does 80% of his care, would you say?
As much as I can. I mean, that
70,
sounds about right.
80%. So with Cole doing a good amount of his care, it's not necessary to hire help because it kind of would be pointless.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a really good system. Mm-hmm. We've kind of figured that out. And the things that overwhelm you, I don't feel like necessarily revolve around the care things anymore. It's just like general life things because we put so much on our plates. Mm-hmm. We take on a lot, which means that, you're going to feel overwhelmed with all those things.
Yeah.
But now that's why we hired a person to help with a lot of those things. So instead of hiring a caregiver, we hired a person that would actually take care of the things that need to be taken care of.
In what ways does your husband care for you? So how are you a caregiver, Cole?
I try to give care in as many ways as possible. Mm-hmm. So like I'm happy to run to the grocery store if I can do that. I'm happy to give you a massage if that's what you need. I'm happy to go buy you some chocolates. I'm happy to
give me pads and tampons when I don't want to go to the store. You've done that.
I've done that. I think part of my job as a spouse for Charisma, as someone who never asks for help or asks for anything, is to try to identify when she's not actually up for things and make a decision. But a lot of my job and where I feel like I give a lot of care is trying to be her kind of brakes.
Yeah.
I feel like Charisma's all gas.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. And I'm down for speeding a little bit, but we also got to pull off the highway at some point. We need to stop at the gas station, take a leak, get some snacks, recharge, and get back on the highway.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm the gas station.
That was a great analogy. That was beautiful. I agree. No, I think that you are that. You calm me down. You bring me down to a comfortable level, and help me recognize when I'm working too hard and I'm overwhelmed.
Do you have sex life with your husband? Sex is important for a young couple.
Why do people always ask that question?
Jesus, people.
Oh my gosh, we're a normal couple. We're very normal in that instance.
How many times do we have to say it? We're good, dude.
But this one first. Okay, someone asked Cole a question. It says, Does Cole ever worry if something were to happen to you?
Oh, I worry about that all the time.
Really?
Oh man, goodness. I don't even like being in the kitchen sometimes when she's cutting things up.
Oh my gosh.
I get scared because one bad slip
I know.
and our lives could be a lot harder. It's the truth.
I know.
I don't want to use the word clumsy, so I won't say clumsy. I don't think charisma's clumsy. But if there's another word that's like clumsy, that isn't clumsy, I would use that to describe charisma.
I don't think I'm clumsy because I
didn't say clumsy.
Okay. The answer is yes. Cole is concerned that something.
Yes, I do worry about it.
But we would have a solution. We'd have, our family members come out here and assist us.
Yeah, there's always a safety net.
There's always a safety net.
But let's not use it.
No, that's not the plan.
How difficult was it to adjust to being a full-time caregiver?
I became a full-time caregiver quite abruptly. It was when I was living with Cole at his parents' house. And it was abrupt because we had a little mishap. That story will be told at another time. It was just something that we knew we could handle on our own, and we just didn't want, we just want to be two adults who made a mistake and didn't have to tell our parents, and
to deal with it.
Like other couples. Like one day I wasn't doing it, and then one day I was, and so it just kind of happened, and I never had time to think about the transition. But I will say, moving into our first house, that was a big transition caregiving wise. So I was doing Cole's care, and then I was cleaning, I was cooking, I was helping maintain the house, and Cole wasn't sure what he could do independently and how he could help me around our brand new home.
So that was kind of the beginning of the whole evolution. We realized what life would really be like just the two of us.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, so we need this, we need more of that, we need less of this, and just worked into our balance. And 3 years later, we're in a much better spot.
Yeah. This is another question for Cole. Cole, do you ever feel like I will leave you because of how hard it can be?
No, I don't think that it would come down to caregiving. If you left me, I think there would be other issues with our relationship.
Yeah.
When we are upset with each other, it's typically not about caregiving.
It's rare. It's rarely about caregiving.
Yeah, it's always about other things.
Yeah.
Me forgetting things all the time. Like that causes more arguments than caregiving. And so if she left me one day, it's because I've completely lost my memory and I can't remember anything.
I would never leave you because of that.
This one's kind of funny. How many hours can you leave Cole if you need to go out, just in case he needs
something? She probably ran
something.
Yeah. Cole can be left home all day long just because he can do his own ICs, and then Cole can just order DoorDash and feed himself.
Yeah. But, like we said, this is part of the evolution because when we first moved into our house and I wasn't doing ICs on my own, Charisma couldn't leave me. And, that became a sore spot is the fact that, I always needed her around. And so that's something that I focused on learning, taught myself, and now I just need help getting in my chair at the beginning of the day and getting in bed at the end of the day. Everything else, throughout the day, I can pretty much handle.
Yeah. Does insurance cover a caregiver if and when you aren't able to do it?
Oh.
I don't believe so. We just have regular primary insurance, no Medicaid or anything. So if we needed a caregiver, we would just have to pay them out of pocket.
So if you qualify for Medicaid, you could definitely have a paid caregiver. I don't know much about insurance. When I start thinking about that stuff, my brain just fogs over.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what is happening?
Yeah, we don't like insurance. No one does. Oh my gosh, this one's so funny. How would you perform caregiving if he was not willing or cooperative, but you still had to get it done? Cole is that. I don't think that pertains to our situation at all.
But I've just always been in the mindset of being extremely appreciative and grateful because I know that people are having to care for me.
Yeah.
And if you are dealing with an uncooperative person or caring for an uncooperative person, I think we're probably not the experts to ask.
No.
I'm sure that there's a person out there, like a social worker or someone who can help you understand how to proceed better than me.
Yeah, for sure. Better than me too.
Yeah.
This last question that I read, I can't find it, but I know it was a question on here because I saw it. For you, Cole, what could charisma do to care for you better? Like,
Care for me better?
What could I improve on?
I don't know. I would say the only thing is sometimes if I have a lot of little tasks that I need help with that are like not critically important, eventually you'll get frustrated.
Yes. Well, it's mostly when I'm relaxing and I'm laying down. And Cole has a habit of asking me for help as soon as I sit down, and I'm like, oh.
I try not to.
Charisma, can you come do this? I'm like,
I try not to.
just sat down. And it's something so simple as plugging in his Xbox or his controller so he can play video games. And I'm like, can you just give me 5 minutes to just sit down? I've been running around the house, cleaning all day.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me would be for you to just try to do a task.
Yeah.
Give it 2 to 5 minutes of solid effort, and then ask me. Because then I know that at least you did try and you literally can't do it, and that's fine.
Yeah. There are things that I did for the first time when I was by myself at home. Because I had no choice. Now, that being said, some of those things took me literally like 45 minutes. Like, it would be something like, I don't know, making popcorn. Took me 45 minutes.
But everything takes you so long the first time, and then you try it and try it. Seriously, you're
right.
Using the
You're
bathroom
right.
on your own took you 30 minutes, and now it takes you less than 5 minutes to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're not on your phone. If Cole's on his phone using the bathroom, you know how that is for anyone who takes your phone into the bathroom. It just adds so much time. Last question. What is the most useful advice you can give to a burnt out caregiver? My biggest advice would be to communicate if you have that ability. So if you're caring for a spouse, if you're caring for a family member, hopefully you have that ability to be vulnerable and open with that person to express how you're feeling and you're feeling a little overwhelmed. My number one advice would just be to communicate how you're feeling, because most likely that person will understand, and I don't think in any way that's making them feel like a burden. I remember when I felt overwhelmed, I was so stressed and worried to share that with Cole because I didn't want him to think that he was a burden to me. But now I realize that it's not necessarily doing that, it's just expressing how I feel, and everyone has needs, and that's okay. And then take time for yourself. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you are filling your cup, because you cannot give good quality care to someone if your cup is half empty or even empty. If you're not in a situation where you can communicate that with the person you're giving care, then talking to the organization, requesting respite care, requesting time off. I think it's just important to advocate for yourself. I think that's the difference between being a parent and being a caregiver to an adult. It's the fact that you can find moments to take respite, especially if you're being a paid caregiver. Respite care is included in your pay, so you can always find outside help to come take over for a day or two. But it's hard to do that when you're a parent, unless you have amazing grandparents who can come in or friends or something like that. But it's a little harder. So I think as a caregiver, the opportunity to be able to take a break is a little easier.
To all of our burnt out caregivers out there, our hearts are with you.
Yeah.
I hope that you've this video maybe has encouraged you to communicate something you've been wanting to communicate, or to go ahead and schedule that massage you've been wanting for yourself.
Yeah.
You deserve it and you need it.
Yeah, I hope that answered a lot of your questions.
Well, this month we would encourage all of you to talk to a caregiver in your world. Show them appreciation, and that's pretty much everybody, because we're all caregivers at some point. Call your parents, thank them for all the care they gave you. Call your cousin, call your sister, call your brother, call
your child.
Call your child.
Some people are older adults and their children have cared for them after an accident or a hip replacement or something,
Yes. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay positive.
All right.
Bye.